Hey everybody, my name is Rydo, and today we are starting the game Submerged. Submerged came out August 4th, 2015, and I've wanted to play it, well, since August 4th, 2015. Sadly, I've just not been able to get around to it. It's a very small game, very short, which makes it hard to justify purchasing a game like that when it's brand new and at full price. And it's kind of with a new company called Uppercut Games that has made a handful of other games you probably haven't heard of. They are former developers of BioShock. You may notice that there's some BioShock aesthetic here, although the game in itself, I imagine, won't be too similar thematically. And they are making a new loot shooter style game called City of Brass that will be coming out pretty soon. And I imagine this came out just in the middle where they tried to release something small and make some finances. Now, I can see, even though that these are developers for BioShock, that company was never really great with PC options. You can see the music by default is at 50%, the sound effects by default is at 100%. So in this instance, if I wanted the sound effects louder, I'd have to go to an external amp on my computer or turn up the volume some other way through some third-party program on my computer. There's really no preamp settings usually, depending on your drivers, in a computer. So if your computer Windows volume manager is at 100 and this is at 100, you have no room for change. And so there's considerably less options for music because of that too. Because if you like the music at the volume it's at now, but you end up having to double the volume for sound effects to be loud enough, then you're going to have to take this down from 50% to 25%, and you'll have a lot less range and adjustment. By default, all games should be scaled to whatever the creators want it to sound like, and that should be where at 50%. So a player should be able to turn up whatever the artistic audio director's idea was, whatever they wanted it to be. 50% higher than that, 50% lower than that. That's really the only way this should ever be, and yet people don't get it. It's even worse on the graphics. This game did not run with regular high DPI very well, and even when the resolution, which it defaulted to a higher resolution than the TV I have can do, it squished all of the text so small that I couldn't even adjust the resolution. And there's like no subtitles option anywhere here. You can adjust the brightness with a slider that doesn't even go to full screen. There's some advanced graphics that it does auto detect. I've hit the point where I'm playing games that are new enough that they can auto detect the settings I should be at. The only thing it by default could go higher is an infinite view distance. I think we'll leave it at ultra because that's what it told me, and there's a possibility that it's simply wrong and I'll have to come back and turn some of these things down. And I don't even want to change the resolution to show you how squished the text is, because I would then spend another 5 minutes adjusting that. Controls seem a little weird about the mouse on the screen. I've got it hidden in the lower right corner, but it at any point might reappear in the middle of the screen. That happens far too often in games too. This is a Unity game, Unity engine game. It looks fine. It looks actually quite great, but I get the feeling that they didn't have an expertise in Unity. You can remap the controller if you want to, but there's no picture of the controller, so that's kind of an awkward way to do it. You can remap the keyboard if you're going to play by keyboard. I don't know why you'd want to do that. We can look at the credits right now. The credits are just this small handful of people, barely 15. So real indie spirit here, if not an indie company for real. And then you have the logo Submerged that has fancy cryptic writing below it that I imagine each one of those symbols equals one of those letters. And that's too much setup, honestly. So let's begin the game and get into the story. Now, this game is only between 2.5 hours and 4 hours long. So it won't take long to play this whole thing. But it looked so good. I definitely wanted to play it. And I probably still, buying it 2 years later, overpaid for it. Just because of the amount of content that's here. And I think once we get into gameplay, an argument will be easily made that they could have added more gameplay. I might even have to go and say something I would probably never want to say, which is that maybe this should have been early access. So we're in a city that's submerged underwater. One would assume in some future time, whether that's a distant future or near future. That statue right there might be Lady Liberty, but it might be any Columbia statue that you might see in the original 13 colonies of the United States. It also might be a statue outside of the United States. The architecture, I would say this probably is New York City, because then that would give you the opportunity to have the largest amount of still standing tall buildings. And we have a girl carrying a boy. And the boy's neck is awkwardly animated. They always get the necks wrong. And he's coughing. And we're into the game. So a lot of trees, and we're getting tutorialized. This is effectively the very same way we started BioShock. This boat has a motor, so it's still some level of technology, to the point where they found gas. Honestly, gasoline would mostly evaporate after a couple of years, so the growth of these trees and things doesn't really equate to that. Like, even though our world is full of gasoline everywhere, it's constantly being refilled. I probably should just go in the building and put down this boy and then come back and look around, because carrying him, I'm not going to have any opportunity to pick up anything. They're making their own clothes of sorts from see, and this is the lion from the New York Public Library, I believe. Yes. They're kind of changing things here, but all right. Oh no, am I gonna put him on a sacrificial table? I bet you could make a few games that were only 4 hours long. I guess we're going here. And fill them with things that you needed to animate anyways. For instance, Darksiders could easily have everything that's in this room in a game, and you could then reuse the assets, the 3D models. He's got a cut on his stomach, a pretty bad one. And so we're going to be pictorially told the story. So there was a family, the parents. I think it may have gone the other way. The parents met, they had a family, they had a house. The house turned into a city of buildings. And now we have... I need to stop something to stop Taku's bleeding. Subtitled. And see, I could easily see why you would want that to not show up and just try to experience it. We have 4 of 44 pictures of our story. It seems like it's numbered, since it's numbered in the regular numerals, it's the other way around. There was a city, in the city was a house, in the house was a family, and then the parents and are missing it. There's also the city story, which has how many collectibles? 60 creatures that have 8 and landmarks that have 8. Not too bad. So we're gonna get slightly over 120, 130 images if we find all the collectibles. Being such an incredibly short game, that wouldn't be too bad. I'm gonna see if I can try to limit myself to doing very little camera control myself. Typically in games like this, you need a smoothing effect, otherwise it's pretty herky-jerky and can make people motion sick. And let's just see what happens when we do this. The camera slowly pans, my hand's off the left stick. So if we're trying to stop the bleeding, one would assume we're not trying to hurt him, and instead we're trying to help him, and I think it would be fair enough to assume that he is our brother. Some flashes here that I'm half thinking might be glitches in solar reflections and solar rays. Maybe not. And see, I imagine I can go to each of these buildings, so it wouldn't be crazy if they had constantly added to this game, put it in early access. I really hate to even suggest that might be what they should have done. And maybe they did the exact right thing and figured only a small number of people would want to play a game like this at the end of the day. So we have the ability to climb, like any good video game character. So it's gonna make a lot of sense. I imagine I will either hit some kind of water that acts as a barrier or some other factor. There's a lot of coconuts growing around, and I don't know if the environment has changed to allow for coconuts to be grown. It's kind of easy to fall off. Here we can see there's a I heard something. Did something just fall in the water? I may have already missed something. You don't just clip through the plants either. So many games you do that, but here you have clipped through them, and you have bumped them. That's an interesting thing to program, honestly. Like, I would imagine your intention would be to not have it work that way. I can't jump to the top of this, but I can jump to the top of this. And we're back to Classic Assassin's Creed. Now, they can jump for this, and the birds were clearly there. A lot of visual clipping happening on the arms, and that too happened in Assassin's Creed. Now we've gone to a fixed camera perspective because the art director saw fit to do that. And I can't go any further. What time is on the clock? Let's see. 7:02. And I imagine we will slide down that later on for ease of access. And clearly there's birds singing and an item to pick up. So our inquisitiveness is rewarded. The game's given me no reason to believe whatsoever that there's a timer on this. And for such a short game, I guess you could get away with that if there actually was a timer telling you have to save your brother in this time, so you can't see everything, so you have to play multiple times. I wouldn't be too happy about that. So 1 of 60. I'll keep these in my journal. There's some red banners over there, but they don't seem incredibly prevalent. And one would assume that you can't just jump. That is very convenient. You can jump that far and that's about it. Was there another slide somewhere? Is there a speed up on the right trigger or left trigger? Not as far as I can tell. And he doesn't have an interaction that can be done with him. So that is the city story number 32. We found one right in the middle. And we need to move forward. Dynamic day-night cycle, which might make the game a little bit more difficult if we play in the dark. But probably won't matter too much. She has an interestingly animated face, very round. Maybe missing a few polygons, but I need to get the boat over and climb that building. So right trigger to accelerate if you want to go that way. Otherwise you can just control it with the left stick. And we have a compass. Oop. Gotta go with the right trigger to accelerate, not the left trigger to go backwards. There's a lot of these plants that seem to float specifically towards the red areas where we can dock. And the Leonese Hotel. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought they would have named things. Naming implies to me that they have a full story here. What was that? Oh, that's a whale. So there's slightly barnacled whales. And we also now have an X, so we can see the map. Is there a way to zoom in on the map? Nope. So the map will stay the same size, which tells me something. Supplies gathered, secrets, boat upgrades. And I don't know if we're ever gonna have a camera item, actually, so maybe we're supposed to just look at the whales, and that's good enough. Now, right here you can see there's a drop in their budget. These are supposed to be windows that are shiny with rooms inside that you'd probably be able to see inside, and curtains that actually look like curtains, and instead it's just all 2D painted. So unless the argument is this building specifically painted its outside to look like it had windows and actually had no windows, which you would only do if you're making like very unique phone centers, phone switching centers, and spy places. This is just a limitation of their budget and their ability. Here's a giant air conditioner with a tree growing out of it that should be showing some damage. There's a bunch of mosquitoes. Are they biting me or landing on me or doing anything? It seems like I have no health issue, and it seems like they have no desire to even bite me. And when I see these little fireflies, am I supposed to take it to mean something? I don't know. And a lot of whales, and the infinite ability to look further and further. Ah, I got it. So there are 8 animals out there, and I'm gonna have to just look at them. Interesting. You know what? That's probably the best implementation of a system like that I've ever seen. So often in old games we've had a camera that we had to equip and then pull out and use. Just instead have the player of the game see something and write it down. It's refreshingly original and amazingly simplistic. So if I can see pelicans and birds, and there's another collectible over there. Now, is this going to be your standard bouncing act? Well, it's animating a bouncing act, but I literally didn't have to do anything. That's nice. Next time I get on one of those, I'm going to see if I can force myself to fall off. I imagine you can't. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 100% non-violent game. That will simply be looking for items to help our brother, and we'll be transposing ourselves. Now, I'm hearing a beeping. I'm having a hard time finding it, though. I guess I have to go up higher. And you can't jump off the ledge, which means that a significant potential places that you might be able to overhang and interact with are eliminated. Supply drop. With emergency rations. So if somebody somewhere is still trying to run this society, however, because I picked that up, it skipped me past a collectible. He looks very pale. That's major blood loss. She needs to be able to donate some blood to him if he's got a chance. And each supply drop seems like it's going to move us forward. Father was a fisherman. So I probably shouldn't get the supply drops until I'm satisfied I've collected everything on the area. Need to find more of those crates. There's an odd disconnect between the language they're speaking and the time and how everything else must have happened. Like, it's almost like it's like post-apocalypse, where an apocalypse happened, an entire generation or more rose up from that initial apocalypse and created a society that's dropping air supply crates and helping each other. We now have this item, which I imagine you can use your telescope to discover distant things. I imagine that'll be very helpful. Maybe there's something there I can use, apparently. And if I just go in the entire opposite direction, I bet the game doesn't let me see anything else. One probably has locked me out from finding any more supply crates in case, for the danger of finishing the game too quickly. Never mind. Well, then my next guess would be that I should get to the top of buildings and collect things. So over here on the map we have a couple of things, and you don't really need to accelerate too much, but you do kind of need to do a little. And so now we have a boost, and the boost is a left bump to speed you up, which isn't a terrible thought. Now if you miss something, you're back to climbing. I didn't really hate in Assassin's Creed having to climb buildings. The problem with Assassin's Creed is it's a game that was designed by a company that wanted to make a 100-hour epic of collectibles, where this is, I feel, a more conservative idea. Let me get bored with it relatively right when the game is about to be done. Not bored with it 30 hours into an 100-hour game. Interesting, she didn't have a firm grip that time. And because she didn't have a firm grip, she felt like she was gonna fall. And there's certainly places where it looks like she might be able to climb up, but that's not actually the case. even a simplistic thing could be overlooked with the supply crates, which obviously somebody else has gotten to the others. Location added to the map. Yes, this feels very much like a game where we're going to do a lot of this. And it might have a very good engine. So standing on one side may actually not reveal anything. Also, being zoomed out really far might not reveal anything. What I'm not seeing is a large reflection of items. It's just kind of a circle. And there's probably a distance attached to it, if I was to guess. So from this building, I would guess you can only see a small number of things, perhaps 5. You can collect things right through other perspectives, which means as long as I'm in a corner, I've done as much as I need. Like, we've already seen that one. That looks like it might be something, but it's too far. And if there are 7 other kinds of animals, I'm slightly confused as to what they are. But who's to say? We'll find out eventually. And it feels like they've done a very good job of teaching me to only pull out the telescope at the top of buildings. Like, I don't feel like there's a huge benefit for every single layer looking around. If there is a benefit, it's gonna be because items are hidden. And if items are hidden, then that's gonna be a disappointment. How do I get back up? This way. And you can try to climb in a few places and it will just tell you can't. And then we've got to run all the way back down. So no super easy escape. It's clear you want to make sure you have everything. And there's no, like, fall. Seems like you might be able to fall down a little quicker. And then the music just immediately went silent. That's a little awkward. And down we go. And then the music comes back. There's some miscommunication in the art direction there. Clearly. So, like I said, this is not going to be a very long game. We've already gotten 8 of our story, 2 of the city's story, well, 3 of the city's story, 1 of the 8 creatures, and I guess there's 8 landmarks. As far as the map is concerned, while we certainly haven't seen the entire area, and mapped it out. We found 3 of 60 secrets, and we've marked out at least 2 more boat upgrades and a secret and a supply crate thing. And I kind of wonder if I shouldn't just look around the whole area before I even pick up the supply crate. And pause. I guess you could make a postcard? What is that? Oh, it's a snapshot mode. Legend. And how do you take a picture? And yeah, it's a very round face. Usually you get more slender. It's I want to say Polynesian or Hawaiian. How do you take the picture though? So I've got this snapshot, and does it just do it when you well, either I've made a couple of postcards or the button to actually make a postcard hasn't been done. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.